Hi friends, it's Terri Gaines. In this video, I'm going to give you all the assembly details for my December 2022 Funfold project and share how I prepared the packet. You received a packet for placing a qualifying order with me the month of December, and thank you so much for doing that. And my goal is to help you assemble your packet and show you how I prepared all the materials in the packet so you can duplicate the card or recreate it using the supplies you have at home. So you have received a PDF that gave you the link to this video. I am also making this video public to share with all of our stamping friends. And in that PDF that I emailed you has all the materials, all the measurements. The measurements are also on the postcard you received in the packet. And in the packet are all the supplies for a miniature card that's going to go on the postcard. So you have a visual of what this Funfold is, and all the materials prepped to assemble your full-size card. You are going to need a few things in your pack to prepare the packet. Your favorite adhesive, I'm going to use the Stampin' Seal. It needs to be a double-sided adhesive to adhere two pieces of cardstock together. A bone folder is going to come in handy. Mini glue dots, some dimensionals, take your pick tool. I have already provided the tear and tape. We need a strong adhesive for this project. So if you're going to duplicate the project, you will want a strong adhesive. I love the tear and tape. There's some sentiments on the stamps or on the projects. I'm using this stamp set for my sentiments for the full-size card and this stamp set for my sentiment for the miniature card. Use whatever stamp sets you have at home. I will have these listed on the supply list. The ink pad colors I'm going to use a soft suede and the Memento, the black ink. But before we start that assembly, I'm going to show you how I prepared the materials or the tools I used for all the project or all the pieces in your packet. The miniature card is using basic black cardstock. There's a small basic white rectangle, and then these strips that are from the Perfectly Penned Designer Series paper. I absolutely love this paper. It's black and white floral on one side, and then a black and white background on the other side. The beauty of this is you can color these flowers in and use them in any color combination you need for your project. You get two each of the 6 double-sided prints. That's the Designer Series paper in here. We have two daisies. They're from the medium daisy punch. And then we have a Granny Apple green greenery from the bow punch. So that's the preparation for that. Those pieces. They all are going to be assembled after we assemble this card. So the rest of the materials in the packet, there is some distressed gold strips. Those are from our distressed gold designers or paper. It's a specialty paper. You get two pieces that are 12 by 12, and these are in the annual catalog. The thickness is like the thickness of Designer Series paper, and I love adding that to my projects. So that's where those are from. You have your basic white that I texturized this with a time-worn type designer or embossing folder, and I just placed this in here and ran that through the folder for you. To duplicate this piece can be Designer Series paper, it can be a stamped piece of cardstock, it can be multiple things, but I texturized that one for us. Then the next layer that is going to be sandwiched between this, I have gold foil, and anytime I'm using specialty paper, I love to maximize it. So I'm taking out some of our embellishments from that layer because it's going to be sandwiched and nobody's going to even know that it's missing. To do that, first I started out with the gold foil. We have the gold foil in the annual catalog. You get two 12 by 12 pieces, or you can purchase a copper foil too. Then what I did, so I cut that to size. Then what I did was I took our adhesive sheets. We sell these in the annual catalog also. You get 12 of them. They're 6 by 12. Cut them down to size, and I always keep my extra pieces right in the packaging. So I cut this down to be slightly smaller than the gold foil. And what we're going to do with this, if you're going to duplicate this, is you're going to put this on the back side of your cardstock. Now that 6-inch width has 2-inch backings on it, meaning that you peel the backing off. They're 2 inches wide, But if your piece is smaller, maybe you don't have a backing. But I think everybody, I'm sorry, I prepped this for you. I'm just sharing that, how I did this. So sorry about that. Well, to duplicate what I did, peel part of the backing off. I only do one at a time, so then I can hold on to part of it. I cut this about a 1/2 inch smaller, so I've got a 1/4 inch spacing on all sides. I put one piece down, then peel this back. Then I get that other piece off, that backing, and then flatten that. Now this is the back side of your paper, so you're going to turn this over. And what I did was I took the detail part of the dies and put them on here. These dies are from a die set in the annual catalog called Summer Shadows Dies, and they coordinate with a stamp set called Shaded Summer. So this is the stamp set. These are the dies, and the gold is from these two pieces, and these two are in your packet cut with the basic white. So that's where I got those from. But back to this, you would place these in the center, stay away from the border, put them between your plates, run them through your die cutting machine, and then you're going to get this as a result. Now your packet, your flower and leaf might be loose, but just to let you know, that's how that was prepared. So let's go on to more pieces of this packet. I shared that we have these cut out the basic white. Those are the other parts of the dies. You also have a couple banners in your packet. These are from the stylish shaped dies. So one banner is from this, using this die, and the other banner is part of this one. So if we go back to the main card, you can see this sentiment is placed over the textured cardstock. So what I did was I cut this the same width as this piece, and it's cut out of this die just to give that some stitching on the top. So that's where that piece comes. We're going to want to stamp this piece, and we're going to want to stamp this border, and we're going to want to stamp this piece too. Now we have only a couple more things left in the packet. We have some embellishments. We have embellishment for the miniature card and the main card. These are from the annual catalog. The Daffodil Delight one is from the Glossy Dots assortments, and they come in 4 different colors, 3 different sizes, and I absolutely love these. So I have used several of them out of my packet already. And then the other one is from the Opal Rounds. There's 2 different sizes, and it's a larger one. It's also a partial packet. There are 2 pieces in your packet, that one for the miniature card and one for the main card, that have tear and tape on one side. I have put that on for 2 reasons. One, as a convenience to have it already there for you, so if you don't own any, you don't need to, it's already done for you. So that's a convenience. I want to share how I did this. So this is the bridge cardstock piece, and we need tear and tape here. And when we look at our main card, it's going to be adhered just to this panel and just to this panel. So when I applied that tear and tape, I had to make sure that I did not go beyond the score line. You want to be score line or over on both sides of that. And that would mean, that's right in the instructions on doing that. But what I also did was I cut a longer strip. I put my tear and tape down the whole piece of cardstock. Then I cut it to my width. That way I got multiple pieces cut with tear and tape on them. And if you're going to make this card again and make more than one, that's a great way to do that. So that already has tear and tape on for you, and so does this one. So we are ready to, almost ready to start assembling our card. What we want to do is stamp these 3 pieces. Now I shared the stamp sets that I'm using. I am going to use the some photopolymer stamp. So I'm going to bring in a small grid paper or pad of paper to stamp on. You could use one of our piercing mats, but I find great success if I stamp on a pad of paper. So what I want to do is stamp these 2 with the soft shade, or I'm sorry, soft suede. And I have a sentiment I'm going to stamp on this piece. So now what I want to do, when you stamp, you want ink just on the surface. So just tap, tap, tap. Don't push, just get the ink on the surface. If you get the ink in the crevices, it doesn't give you as detailed of an image. The beauty of the photopolymer is you can see through to do your stamping. And then just hold it down for a few seconds to let the ink absorb into that paper. And there we have that portion done. Just love those sentiments. So what I have off on the side is part of my chamois. A chamois is one way you can clean your stamps. They come like this. I cut mine into quarters, and then it needs to be damp to wring out the water. And what's nice about it, it cleans and dries your stamp all in one. So now on this banner, I'm going to stamp Best Wishes. Hopefully I'm still on the camera. I don't have a good view. And hopefully I get this straight. I don't think I got it. It's going to be okay for video purposes. My videos are unedited. They do contain bloopers. But if I was in person stamping, we'd have the same scenario. So for the miniature card, the only visible part is going to be the very top. This isn't required, that you don't have to stamp a sentiment here, but I am, on my sample, I'm going to stamp a happy birthday, and this is from the Pansy Patch stamp set, right towards the top. And as I mentioned, off on the side, I have my chamois to clean my stamps. So we are now ready to assemble our packet. Now the beauty of this video is you can pause at any time if I'm going too quickly for your assembling, or you can rewind and rewatch something. So we have your card base. It's already cut to size and has all the scoring in it. We want to score this. We want this first fold to be a mountain fold, the next one to be a valley fold, the next one to be a valley fold, and the next one to be a mountain fold. So that's going to create our card base with that bridge, the panels to attach the bridge. Once we score those or fold those on the pre-scored lines, you want to take a bone folder and crease those just to help get those to burnish the ends. Now I like to decorate the inside first. We are using basic white for our card base. So that means we're going to stamp the back. We're going to stamp a sentiment or sign the back of the card. So if you want to utilize this card and stamp a sentiment on the back, let me bring that. So this is the front of the card. You would stamp the back. You can do that now, and then you have that already done if you want to stamp a sentiment. I have two other samples I'm going to share where the cardstock is colored, so you would put a white background on there. So back to the assembly. If you want to stamp there, you can now. So what we want to do is next is stamp or assemble the inside piece. So this is what's going to go on the inside. We do need to make sure, this is very important, remove these pieces because we don't want to sandwich those pieces in the middle. We're going to set those aside for later. So what we want to do is sandwich this piece between here, and it's going to go in here. But we also are going to be attaching this piece. So it is actually easier to attach the banner to this piece first and then to this piece. Now it's hard to read this writing, but you can make out a few letters to know what is the top or bottom to that piece. So what we want to do is get your double-sided adhesive. We're going to place this across the top with about a 1/4 inch or so. You kind of decide how you want to place that across like so. Now we're going to adhere this to the gold foil piece. I hold opposite corners, then watch the other two opposite corners and look for equal spacing, top, bottom, and the two sides, and place that down. Now the nice thing about the adhesive sheets, we still have some adhesive sheet on here. So instead of adding more adhesive to this, all you need to do is peel that backing off. Now we have adhesive on here, and what we can do is we can go here, look for equal spacing, and place that down. So we've got the center panel first. Now the distressed paper, you have two that are the same size that are going to be perfect for right on these side panels. We want to adhere those next. So put your favorite adhesive on the back of that. And then what I like to do is fold this down, and this kind of helps me get the distressed paper to line up to the top of the gold foil and get equal spacing and place that down. So I'm going to put this one on, and then I'm going to follow that same process and put this one on next. So we these distressed pieces can be designer series paper, they can be cardstock that is texturized or stamped. So if you duplicate this fun fold, you can do all kinds of different decorative panels. So we have that portion done. The next thing we're going to do is put that brace across, which is the bridge part. As I mentioned, I already have that adhesive down for you. So on the opposite side, we want to adhere the distressed paper to that. So use your favorite adhesive. And I'm repeating myself by telling you, if I'm going too quickly, just hit the pause button, and then you can start it up again when you're ready to continue with the next step. That's the beauty of the video. Now what we're going to do is adhere this across. There's a couple things you want to make sure. We want to get them to line up. We want them equal, spacing on the bottom, but we want it to be able to collapse this or fold this, and if it doesn't buckle and it fits into an envelope. So what we want to do is only attach one at a time. So we're going to take the backing off. Now, as I mentioned already, I already have this tear and tape on, and as you can see, it stays within this panel. You do not want it to go beyond, otherwise when you fold a card to go in the envelope, it is going to adhere to that center panel. So what I'm doing is I'm looking for equal spacing on that side, and I'm going up about a 1/2 inch. Now this is really flexible. Depending on what element you put on it, you can move it down or you can move it up. But a 1/2 inch is a pretty common placement, I think, for that. Now to attach this side, I feel it's best to fold the first and second panel flat and let this go across, fold all of this flat and let it adhere to that. So what we want to do then is take the backing off this end. And that's what I really love about the tear and tape. The backing stays on until you're ready to expose it, so you don't have to worry about it adhering somewhere you don't want it to adhere. So now I have these two panels folded flat here. I'm looking for my piece to go straight across here, and then place that down. Now it hangs over a little bit here, and if you wanted to, maybe your packet was cut so it matches right up. I'm turning this over, and if this top blade meets right up to that cardstock, I can use that as a guide to trim that flush, or you can bring that to your paper trimmer. So that is the basic part of the bridge fun fold, and it's going to collapse to go into the Stampin' Up! Medium envelopes. Now what we want to do is add our embellishments. So as we already chatted, we have, and you saw the finished sample, we have these pieces. You might have these little floating pieces in your packet. They, if you find those in your packet, they are just from this portion here. So what we want to do is actually adhere these two together. So now what we want to do, I find it best just to eliminate these pieces and then pull my backing part out. These should easily come apart. If they don't, if they're still stuck to the back paper, just leave them there. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this backing off. Now we have adhesive on all of this fine detail. And what you can do is kind of try to force those little dots to stay on the backing paper. And if they don't, then you just need to eliminate them before you adhere that. So sometimes they stick right back here. So as I think I already mentioned, my videos are unedited, and we would probably have these scenarios if we were in person. Here we go. Now what we want to do is adhere this to this piece here, and I find it's best to look for the petals that have the little dimples in. to start for my alignment. So this petal and this petal have the biggest little dimple. I'm going to start with those. So I'm going to use my hands to line that up, and then as I line that one up, I'm going to line the next one up, and then line the next one up, and then go around. Now if it's offset a little bit, that is totally okay. It does not have to be perfect, and that's the beauty of paper crafting. Now what I would suggest is to take a bone folder and just burnish these to help the adhesive bond to the cardstock. Okay, so we got that part done. Now for the greenery or the leaves, I don't worry about poking out those cut pieces. I'll just go here and separate them that way. And then we have this, and this is easier to line up. So I always start with that end leaf, get that one started. Then you can go to the next one and to the next one. And as I mentioned, if they're off a little bit, that is okay. It's not going to be a problem. So now we're ready to assemble these pieces to our card. Now we are going to adhere these, but we want to make sure we have no exposed adhesive beyond this left panel and this brace here. Otherwise, when you flatten it, it's going to adhere to the center panel. So to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use dimensionals to attach the flower. We have quite a bit of base right here, and what you can do is just put a couple dimensionals behind here, and by doing it this way, that just tells me that I need to make sure that that center of my flower stays on that base. So I'm going to place it about right here, okay? And I don't have any adhesive. The other option is you could have put your dimensionals right on this piece and brought your flower to it. Now I'm going to place this green, the leaves behind here. Now it has the stem that if you find that you don't like seeing it through the window there, or it doesn't place quite right, you can always snip that off and just take a paper snips and snip that off. Then what I'm going to do is just look at this. If I place this right here, I don't want to put any adhesive on that leaf because it's going to hang over. I'm going to only put them on these two. Now if I use dimensionals, a dimensional on those two will be sufficient. I don't need it on all three of these images or leaves. So we're going to take the backing off, and then I'm going to just attach that. Oops. There we go. And then we have a little embellishment from the opal rounds. It always gets tricky to pick these up because they're on just a small piece of clear plastic that they come on. And that is for the center. And goodness, boy, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to use my paper snips as a little pliers and get a little bit more control over that. Let's hold that flat and get that to stay right in the center. Oh goodness, there we go. So the last thing is the banner. So the banner, I stamped best wishes. This can be a card for many different occasions. I'm going to put 3 dimensionals on the back, and this just needs to stay on that brace piece and not adhere over the edge of the card, and we will be good. Whoops, goodness. There we go. All right, so now what I'm going to do is just tuck this underneath here. I'm going to say I like it right there. Let that go down, and that is our finished card. I hope you love it as much as I do. I love that distressed gold paper and the gold foil together, and as I mentioned, that can be a card for many different occasions. So let's assemble our miniature card so we can put that on our instruction postcard. Your basic black card base piece is already scored and cut for you, so make a mountain fold, valley fold, mountain fold, mountain fold, valley fold, valley fold, mountain fold. Take the bone folder and crease those, and that will help keep that shape and burnish those, break down those fibers at the corner. So this is the one we're going to put right in the middle. This one doesn't have any added layers, and that's something you can add as many layers on your your on that card. If you duplicate this card using different materials and your supplies at home, you can add as many layers to this inside panel. And that's true for the outside panels too. You can add more layers to the outside. We're using just designer series paper and attach these two. So we can go ahead and do that. And with the paper, because it's double-sided, you do have the option to use the other side. I have a little strip of adhesive there. So what I'm going to do, goodness, I'm going to go back to what I did earlier. I find it best to fold this, and I can kind of use the top to align and get that on. And then take this one and put adhesive on the back. Going to fold this down. I don't know if I mentioned I have a couple samples to share with you when I get done assembling this portion, or when we all get done assembling this portion. So that's going to be our miniature card. As I shared already, the adhesives on here. This is going to be our bridge cardstock. So we'll put our designer series paper on the cardstock, and this is a smaller piece. I have a hard time looking at opposite corners when it's so small. Let's see. And I do not have that lined up right. Let's see. I'll give this another try here. So there we go. Maybe about right like that. All right. So the beauty of this, the adhesive's already there for you. So what we're going to do is take the backing off. We're going to repeat what we did for the full-size card. I'm going to have this up a little ways, and it might be hard to see with that background. We're going to line that up to that edge. Do that one first, fold these panels, and then it's going to go across and line up to this edge. So now you can take the backing off this side. This is going to allow your card to fold flat and not buckle when you put it in an envelope. And that will go across like that. For embellishing, we have two daisies, and I'm going to use mini glue dots to attach these. So our mini glue dots come in a strip, and I put a twist tie on here just to keep that backing from just going wild. Sometimes it goes wild and you exposed a lot of adhesive dots. So what I'm going to do is place, as long as I stay within that brace, we're good. Put one down. And with the mini glue dots, I like bringing my object to the strip, then taking the dot off, and then I'm going to place this so they're offset between. That's kind of how I like to do the daisy. There is the embellishment that you can take and put in the center. I just love these embellishment pieces. Now this greenery is too long, so I'm going to trim off the stem, and then when I put this underneath, some of it's going to be off the banner, or off the panel I should say. We don't want adhesive back there, so I'm going to put adhesive on the top flower and the bottom left side. So then we can just again bring the item to the mini glue dot, and there we go. Oop, I got it. Now what you can do is take this and tuck that underneath and just attach those. That's our little miniature card to be our visual of what the bridge fun fold card is, with all the measurements and instructions so you can duplicate this. Now to attach this, I personally wouldn't put it right in the center, because when you collapse it, it's going to hang all over the edge. If you put this in a clear envelope or a filing system, you might want it over a little bit. So what I'm going to do, I got some of that gold adhesive. The adhesive sheet pieces that come out here of this, they do have adhesive on, so sometimes you'll find them stuck to different things. So just FYI on that. And then what I'm going to do is fold this as I center it, and then this will be the visual to recreate a fun fold, a bridge fun fold card. So this is our packet this month for qualifying orders, and I said I had a couple more samples. Here is a sample using the die set. This is This is the sentiment stamp set that I used for the sentiment on the main card, the coordinating stamps and the dies, and then I colored those in with Stampin' Blends. So this is a fun one. This is where I mentioned on the back I added more cardstock so you can sign the card on the back. And then I have one created with the Cottage Rose, and this is colored in with the Stampin' Blends, the Cottage Rose stamp set, and the coordinating dies, and then the same stamp set that I used for here for the sentiment, and the same folder as I used here, and then the back is to sign the card. I hope you enjoyed this fun fold. I appreciate your order. Thank you for placing an order. If you are looking for a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and would like to purchase some Stampin' Up! Product, I would love to connect with you. You can reach out to me or find a link to my online store in the comment section of this video or on my blog. And as I mentioned, this is the project for qualifying orders, and you will receive the packet, a PDF, and a video link to this, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you, take care, and happy creating.